Good morning, Year 10. This is Mr. Souza. I hope you had a lovely Easter break and you're fully rested and ready to start the new summer term. So, your title today is Writing Speeches, Speech Openers, because this is our new topic. For your do now, I would like you to do the following. The people in these photographs are well known for their speeches, but what are speeches and why do people give them? What is the point or the purpose of a speech? Why do so many politicians or political activists make speeches? What are the key elements to think about when preparing and giving a speech, and why? So please pause the recording for 5 minutes in order to do this activity. So during this topic, you'll be studying and analysing a range of speeches, as well as writing your own speeches in a range of different styles. This will be relevant for your GCSE Language Exam Paper 1, Functional Writing. This topic will also directly lead you to spoken language, where you will have to write a speech that you learn and present to the class for your GCSE Spoken Language grade. This is graded as pass, merit, or distinction, but we'll be speaking more about this later on during the term. So, 3 key purposes of speech writing. You've got a speech to persuade, a speech to argue, or a speech to explain, or multiple purposes. Speeches are a way of being able to speak to large audiences, and therefore many people at the same time. A speech is normally given by one person who is trying to persuade their audience to think or do something, or to argue an opinion to the audience, or to explain their ideas to an audience. One of the most important elements of a successful speech is starting well and engaging the audience straight away. But how can we do this? So the purpose is the reason why you've created a piece of writing. For instance, the purpose of your notes in your exercise book are to help you to be able to describe and explain your ideas. Audience is the people or groups of people you are targeting when you are creating your writing. For example, football match programs are designed for football fans of a particular team. So types of openers with modelled examples. So for instance, you could start with a short sentence, a short story, and then followed by a could or if sentence and argument. So to give you an example of this, Gary was a normal child. He lived in an average house with his 2 parents and their dog, and he was happy. But one day, Gary went out cycling and didn't wear a helmet. He was involved in a terrible accident that changed his life forever. Imagine then, if we actually spent the time and money funding cycling awareness programs. So clearly this is a really effective way to start. That short sentence hooked us in, then we've got the story to engage our imaginations, and then the could or if again to hook us further. It's a really effective way to start. Second, using we against them. Many so-called experts believe that genetically modified crops are the best way forward for this country and its people. But we know better. We know they are harmful to other plants, other animals, and the people themselves. So by using we, it groups the audience or the reader with the speaker or the writer, again getting them on side. So really effective. Also, hopefully you spotted the tricolon, other plants, other animals, people themselves, a nice little grouping there. And thirdly, we've got being an expert. I've spent the past 25 years working as a financial advisor to individuals, couples and families, helping them solve their money problems. This position allows me to tell you how best to manage your money. So clearly, if someone is presenting themselves as an expert with experience in that industry or that field, they're much more reliable as a source of information, and therefore you're much more likely to believe them, and again you're being taken on side. Again, note the tricolon, individuals, couples and families. So something clearly that's being used a lot in these introductions. And then we've got number 4, using a rhetorical question to get the audience thinking before explaining your argument. Why do we spend hours upon end queuing in shops at Christmas? Well, we don't need to. That's what online shopping is the only way forward. I think that's supposed to be that's why online shopping is the only way forward. So clearly, by using that rhetorical question, the writer or speaker is getting you engaged with the topic, making you think, once more getting your interest and getting you on side. Number 5, starting with a powerful statistic. 95% of all fires started are easily preventable. All we need to do is start showing people how we can prevent them. So that powerful statistic again grabs our attention and gets us on side with the speaker or the writer because they've clearly demonstrated the significant nature of their argument. Number 6, starting with a short sentence. Airbags save lives. Very short, very powerful, very effective. Can't really question it. And then I've got number 7, start with a survey question. How many of you have ever tripped on ice? Everyone has. And that's why it's so important we invest in safety this winter. Again, gets your attention, engages you, and makes you want to read on or listen on, as the case may be. So you may want to pause the video now and jot down some notes about these sentence starters. Okay, so annotating exemplar speeches and model example. So there are 2 attachments to today's lesson. I would like you to start with the Portman speech and consider what techniques has she used to open her speech, annotate them, why is she so effective, how does she engage the audience. Refer back to the list of ways to open a speech to help you. So please pause the video now for about 5 to 10 minutes in order to do this. Okay, so let's go through and annotate together. If you haven't got any of these annotations, please note them down. Let me tell you about my own experience. We've got a short sentence here to introduce a personal story, grabbing the attention of the reader. Then you've got the use of the age 12, a statistic which is central to her point. After all, it's the fact that she's so young and so innocent that makes this whole situation so horrific. Then you've got her womanhood, her voice, and her desire. My own womanhood, my own desire, my own voice. A repeated tricolon showing her youth. And the switch from her to my is also really effective, demonstrating this is her own personal story. Her young age repeated as a shocking statistic. Again, really effective in generating a sense of empathy for her and creating a sense of shock and pity. Excited is repeated, demonstrating her eagerness and her innocence, then contrasting with the horror of what she opens. We've got a list of shocking and distasteful experiences to emphasize her disgust at the way she was treated. You've got the reminder of her age again, as this young age is central to the story. And then finally, her story has led up to her argument being introduced, how and why she changed her behaviour. So please make sure you've made a note of all of that before moving on. Okay, so now it's your turn. I'd like you to read the Gonzalez speech and consider what techniques has she used to open her speech, annotate them, why is she so effective, how does she engage the audience. Refer back to the list of ways to open a speech to help you do this. So we've looked at a range of ways you can open speeches and seen some in action in real speeches. The next slide will give you some topics and audiences to pick from. I would like you to choose a topic for your speech, choose an audience for your speech, choose one way to open a speech, use the example to write out the opening sentences to your speech. And as a challenge, which option did you go for and why? Why do you think it is particularly engaging for your topic and audience? So these are some of the options. I'm not going to read through all of them. I bet you know which one I would pick. So have a think. If there's something that you want to talk about or write about which isn't on the list, please do feel free to go for it as well. So take a moment, choose a topic, and then answer the questions on the previous slide. So that brings us to the end. Before we finish, I would like you to write down 3 success criteria that you think define a great speech opening. So pause the video for just a few moments and write them down. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's lesson. Thank you so much for your hard work. If you would like an achievement point, please do feel free to send me a picture of your work, or maybe just some thoughts about how you found today's speeches that you read, any comments, any reflections on today's work. I'll be happy to hear anything you have to say, and of course I'll be awarding achievement points for photos and any interesting comments that you may have to share with me. Okay, so thank you again for your hard work, and see you next time.